Hey guys, in this video I want to talk about this new radio I just got. It's the Turnigy Evolution. It's a FlySky based radio that's similar to the i6S radio that I reviewed on my channel a few months back. And it's a similar size to the i6S, obviously a totally different form factor. The Evolution is more like a gamepad or a PlayStation controller or an Xbox controller type of system. It has the same touchscreen here, but instead of at the bottom, it's up here at the top. The firmware is similar, but it's not exactly the same. It still does 5 models, and this radio is specifically marketed towards multi-rotor pilots and not airplane pilots. So, if you're looking at this radio to fly an airplane, you can. However, it's not recommended because there's no trim functions available to you, and it's not going to be very easy to trim your airplane in the air. The only situation I would think that you could use this radio for an airplane is if your airplane has a flight controller, and this is really why it's good for multirotors, because it's designed for flight controllers. Now, this radio is only 8 channels. The i6S is 10 channels, but for a multi-rotor situation, it's probably going to be just fine. So in addition to the radio, you get this receiver here. It's the Turnigy IA6C receiver. It's a pretty small receiver, about the size of a D4R2, and you also get a USB charging cable, and this thing will charge right here on the side through USB, which is nice. It has internal batteries here in the grip area, and it has this little cover that you can just put on to protect your radio. Put that away. So that you can just put this on and then toss it into your bag without having to need a separate case. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I decided to get this radio is wanted something small, compact, and lightweight, and also inexpensive. This was like $60, and something that I could just throw in my car, leave it in there, make sure it's charged, and then have some micros or other quads out in my car ready to go without having to lug around a lot of equipment, heavy backpack, or cases of stuff, and just basically bring batteries with me. So that's why I got this. Now, this weighs about, I think it was 345 grams, which is extremely light, and much lighter than the i6S, which was, I believe, 536 grams, and much lighter than my Tyrannus, which is 836 grams. So this thing weighs less than half the Tyrannus, and so it's no need for a lanyard for your hanging on your neck. It's not going to be something that you're going to be dropping. So let's see a couple other things here. This is a very simple radio. You get a power switch turned on. You get a 2-position switch here in the front. You get a variable dial here that you can pop out, and then on the back you get 2 3-position switches. All of your functions here are controlled via the touchscreen, just like the i6S. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually set up my ZMR 250 over here on this radio, and show you guys how to do a complete multi-rotor setup using this radio, and I'll go to the computer here and show you how to do that. And the first thing you got to do is, before you go to the computer, is you got to bind your receiver to the radio. So it's pretty easy to do. It does come with a bind plug, but there's nowhere to put that on here, and so basically you just power it on and it starts flashing right away, and then you're immediately in bind mode, and it only lasts for about 5 seconds and then it just goes into like a failsafe mode. So what you got to do is you plug it in, or actually before you plug this in to power, you have to go into your model and select receiver bind right here, and then it'll just it puts the radio into bind mode, and then you got to get a power source, and you just plug in the receiver to power and it'll bind right away. There you go. And that's that sound indicating it's bound, and you get a solid LED. So now it's bound. So if I unplug the power to the receiver, it'll start complaining. That's the sound that you have a no connection. And then you plug it back in again. And we're connected. And then here, in the menu here, you can see that has some information on the battery for the receiver, and that we're actually connected. So now that we're bound to the receiver, we can go ahead and I'm going to install this into the ZMR 250, and then I'll go through the menus here, go through Betaflight, and show you how to configure the receiver and all your endpoints and everything, make sure everything's centered so that it's actually working. What I'm going to be using is actually the SBus protocol and not PPM. You have available PPM, SBus, and iBus, and I believe the SBus and iBus protocols both come out of the SBus pin here. I'm going to see if SBus works on this setup because I couldn't get SBus to work on the FlySky i6S, only iBus. So I'm going to try that first and see if that'll work. Okay, this is Albert from the future here, and I know this is a question everyone's going to have is, can I bind the Turnigy Evolution with older FlySky receivers? And we're going to go ahead and test that right now. Go into the receiver bind mode, and the one I'm going to test here is the FlySky FSIA6B. I'm pretty sure that this is going to have to work with the second generation protocol, which is the 2A. I don't have any of the older first generation non-2A receivers, so I can't test that. So if someone else wants to test that, let me know. I'll leave a comment below and let me know. Go ahead and have my bind plug-in for this guy, and we'll go ahead and power it up. And it said bind OK. And we should have a little telemetry there with the receiver. So, and we have a solid light. So if that answers everyone's question, I'm sure everyone will know, hey, if I got these older receivers, what can I use these for with the Turnigy Evolution? And as you can see, they work. Okay guys, so here I'm going to walk you through my setup of this transmitter with Betaflight configurator. And I have my receiver on UART1 here as a serial receiver. And the configuration tab, I am setting up receiver mode as RX serial, and serial receiver provider is SBus. So I'm going to give that a try. So here I'm going to the receiver tab, and I see that my sticks are not responding, and I realize that I must be in iBus mode, so I'm going to go to the output mode in the setup on the transmitter, and it's telling me I need to turn the receiver off at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and power off or actually disconnect the flight controller from Betaflight configurator, and I will turn off the receiver, which will allow me to go ahead and change the output mode, and I'm now changing it from iBus to SBus. I'm going to go ahead and reconnect. And now I see that everything is connected and is responding. Just checking my sticks and checking the direction of the channels. See that looks like they're all working properly, so it doesn't look like any reversing is necessary. However, I'm noticing that the channels are not centered, so I'm going to have to adjust that. So over on the transmitter, I'm going to go over to the sub-trim menu to make these changes. Here I'm just checking the switches, and they're not on the auxiliary channels that I like, so I'm going to have to make those changes as well, and I'll show that a little bit later. Okay, so I'm going into the subtrim menu at this point, and I'm going to change the centering of each of the channels. I'm going to do channel 1, which is the aileron channel, and lowering that down to get that to center at around 1500, and pressing that little arrow key on the touchscreen is a challenge. So I'm getting it as close to 1500 as I possibly can. Go ahead and confirm that. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the channel 2, which is the elevator, or the pitch. And here I'm trying to do the subtrim on channel 3, which is the throttle. And that's not going to do anything. I keep thinking that I'm doing something to the yaw, but nothing's happening. So I'm like, well, what's going on here? And I realize I'm doing the wrong channel. So channel 4 is the yaw channel, and then that's working now. So I probably should have centered my throttle at this point, but I realized I forgot to do that. But it's not that important as long as the endpoints are at 1000 and 2000. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the endpoints menu. And here I can adjust the range of each channel, make sure that the low end is at 1000 and the high end's at 2000. And right now my range is off for roll, so I'm going to go ahead and make those changes. And I'm just trying to get the endpoints on the stick to go to 1000 to 2000 to give you the maximum of range on each channel. Okay, at this point I'm going to be checking the auxiliary channels, making sure that the switches are on the channels that I like, and the center 2 position switch here is switch A, and I actually want that on auxiliary 1, which is channel 5. And as I'm checking this, it's actually changing both auxiliary 1 and auxiliary 2 because it was on program for both. So I'm going to change channel 6 as well to switch B, I believe. And then I'm going to put the variable dial on channel 8, I believe. So you can obviously adjust these the way you want them for whatever purpose you're going to be using them for. This is just the way I wanted to set up my channels. I wanted the 2-position switch for the arming, and that's why I have that set up there. Now I'm checking the failsafe. You always want to make sure your failsafe is working before you fly. And the easiest way is to make sure all your channels are and switches are set to disarm and throttle low, and then you just hit the set all, and I'll set all the channels to whatever the current position is for all those channels, and I'll make sure that your copter will disarm in case of a failsafe. And then here I'm going to go ahead and actually test that. So I went an arm, and then I'm going to turn off the transmitter. We can see that the failsafe has worked. The copter's disarmed now. Okay, so here's just an example of how I plan to use the Turnigy Evolution. Got a little bag here, pretty small, and my quad, the ZMR 250, and pretty much everything I got is going to be in this bag. Got my batteries, and got the controller. Let's see, here's my goggles. And got my fat chair goggles. And that's pretty much all I need to fly. So this is, just to give you an idea, this is why I got this, is I wanted to have just like really small amount of stuff to carry with me to do some quick flying here and there, without having to carry all my gear, my giant Tyrannus around. As you just saw, I was flying this low to the ground, flying proximity around the trees, and I had really good control of the quad. this transmitter is actually really good. The gimbals are smooth and very predictable. I highly recommend if you're a first-time pilot, especially for multirotors, check out this transmitter. It comes with a receiver. It's $60. It's a bargain, and it's also a good like second transmitter if you want to back up and just want something in the car with some quads ready to go, and at a moment's notice, just find a random parking lot or some cool spot you want to fly without having to lug all your gear around. When sometimes, as you know, with a lot of quads, it's a lot of stuff. So anyway, guys, hope you liked this little video. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.